February 17th, and with yet another disappointing Cowboys season, we're now facing a rather important offseason. But this year is different. The Cowboys front office seems to have heard Cowboys fans and their cries for a change of process, and they're slowly changing their ways, allowing Coach Schotty to play a heavy impact on the staff around him, conducting professional coaching staff processes, looking at names that they may not have known at the end of the season or off the top of their head, and hiring guys who aren't hitting the age to start collecting social security checks. What's going on, guys? Dallas Talks Tua, and today we're going to be talking about some of the new coaching staff changes on the Cowboys. Today, we're kind of looking at one of the ways that Jerry Jones has started to act like a real competent GM for the Dallas Cowboys this offseason, with all of their coaching hires as of today. In the 2025 to 2026 season, the Cowboys' biggest flaw was their defense. Clearing out the defensive coordinator room, getting rid of Matt Eberflus, who led one of, if not the worst defenses in the league, as well as in Cowboys history, this offseason, the Joneses set out to attempt to fix this problem, starting straight at the defensive coordinator position. Hiring Christian Parker, who is a fast riser within the coaching circle, with a secondary focus viewed on coaching with the Broncos and Eagles, where both teams kind of had an elite secondary, making this an incredible hire who doesn't just kind of just fit outside of that usual Jones MO of an old established coach. The hire excited many fans, including myself, as Parker kind of brings fresh ideas and similarities to concepts and schemes that we see in a lot of the top DCs, and he also learned under some of the top DCs. After finalizing the defensive coordinator hire in Parker, he quickly got to work hiring the rest of his staff. Although it is noted that he did not clear house, he allowed a lot of the former coaches a chance to interview for their positions, something that's pretty worthy of being noted. Ryan Smith, Derek Ainsley, Marcus Dixon, Chidera Uzo-Diribe, Robert Munskamp, Scott Simons. These will be your new Cowboys coaches. A new regime is heading to Dallas, and fans should be pretty excited about this. We don't know the level of success this new staff will have until we get to next season, but one thing is for certain, the process has been different. The Joneses didn't just pick someone they knew as soon as they could. They interviewed upward of 9 coaches for Parker's position and ultimately felt he was the best candidate. And that is how this process should be done. Parker may be untested as a DC, but I have faith in him, and I think you should as well, as the man has an extensive background of success as well as teaching his players, as he has a bit of college background. Now, this past offseason, we didn't really make that big of an issue on when it comes to offense, as Schotty led a top 5 offense and didn't really make any moves. And that's not really to be surprised, as the saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Stephen Bravo Brown and Kyle Fuller are the only 2 hires on the offensive side of the ball. And this really isn't a video about them, as these positions were really only assistant positions. And I don't think the impact is really going to be all that big. More of learning under people and gaining experience. What is important about both of them would be the traits that they share with their counterparts in the defensive hires. In the past, the Jones kept to a pretty safe route when it comes to hiring coaches. No young guys, only established former head coaches, someone who'd earned a head coaching job but couldn't quite keep it, which isn't the worst idea, as they should have seen a good amount of success to become that head coach. But this didn't work for the Cowboys. Time and time again, either our team was one of 2 things, either just awful or awful in critical moments. Both of these are traits you cannot have to play winning football. So with the natural progression of things, coming off the clearest example of the Jones process not working with Matt Eberflus, they went in a new direction. Majority of our new hires are young, college experienced, and guys who I think is fair to say aren't the obvious pick. This is exciting for us, even if Christian Parker doesn't create an elite unit immediately. We're going to see someone who will think differently, change his ways when things aren't going the way he wanted them to, and a staff that will follow right behind him. These hires aren't about the immediate results. It's about creating something that can last and adapt to what the league throws at them. The Jones are adapting in their own ways, and these hires are a testament to the change. 2 other testaments would be the 2 huge trades we made, as Jones was often criticized for not making in-season trades or trades when it was clear that they're declaring holes. George Pickens and Quentin Williams were pretty fantastic trades, and both had immediate impacts on both sides of the ball. Even though defense was pretty bad still, even if you've had 4 years in a row, there's still some worry that they don't actually end up pulling this plug. They do, in fact, end up pulling the plug, thankfully. And the last test is kind of who they hire. And you're kind of wondering, okay, is it going to be a former DC or former head coach? And are they going to do it immediately? But no, they go ahead. look at 9 different guys, they take their time, and they figure out who they want, and they go out and get them. And it's a guy who's younger, hasn't been tested, and they do all of this before teams are even making requests. So it's clear things are changing in Dallas. Whether good or bad, we'll have to wait, but it's definitely not going to be the same season for 2026, 2027. So going into this offseason, I was a bit excited just because the 2 trades that I talked about with George Pickens and Quentin Williams, I think really show that Jerry's a bit more in tune than we thought he was, or at least he has been recently. I think it's been clear that he's kind of listening to the fans, as sometimes the fans do have the obvious answer. And I think he is starting to understand that he only has a certain amount of years with Dak at quarterback. And ultimately, it's hard to win in this league if you don't have a quarterback. I think Sam Darnold might have been one of the, I guess him or Jalen Hurts would be one of the worst quarterbacks to win the Super Bowl. But ultimately, they're still very good quarterbacks in their own aspects. So I think this is Jerry's kind of realizing that he can't do what he's always done, played the safe route. He's going to have to invest a little bit more attention to this team and be a bit more strategic. And I think there's a very real chance that he's turning his ways. I don't think we can ultimately say he's changed, he's going to do what he needs to win. I think that will come with the free agency and the draft. If we go out there and play this very strategically, which I personally think you should look to the draft for those big, expensive positions like DN and cornerback. And maybe you fill out the linebackers and safeties in free agency. If they play this right and they ultimately build not an elite unit, I think that would be too much to say. That's asking a bit much. Very few GMs can actually get away with that. But give Christian Parker some guys who he can build something around, which we clearly saw last year or this previous season, that you don't need an elite defense with the type of offensive play we've had. I think you re-sign George Pickens. You go ahead and get a new right tackle. You see what you got with Guyton, as he was playing rather well down the line until he got hurt. Try and sign Javonte Williams. Worst case, you go out and you sign a running back for cheap. Because I really don't think in this run game, you need someone elite. I think Javonte is very good, but I don't think his stats really reflect how good he is. I think that's more of, we had a very good run game, and so really majority of people would do quite well. I think Rico would probably do better if he was still on this team, but ultimately he was a bit more expensive than we were choosing to pay, but what's done is done. I think you go out there, if we see the Joneses and they go out there, get a right tackle in free agency, get some linebacker help, get some safety help, and then through the draft we get a DN as well as some cornerbacks. I think that, and it pans out, I think there's a very real possibility that we're looking at Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones turning a new page and kind of, I guess, taking a page out of the book of the Eagles and getting a bit more win now focused. But we'll have to see. Thanks for listening, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.